Hi there, it's Nicole here today, and I'm going to share some cards talking about customizing greeting stamps. Maybe the greeting isn't in the orientation that works for your card design, and there are a couple ways you can go about making it work. One of them is cutting clear stamps apart, which I have done in the past, and sometimes I will do it, but I always have struggle with cutting them apart because I don't know why. I just hate cutting a perfectly good stamp apart. It is something that you can do. It is an easier way to do it probably. However, today I'm going to share how to mask a greeting so that you can keep it intact, but maybe change it up a little bit. I'm going to start with these. I'm making a trio of cards using all stamps and dies from the Essentials by Ellen line at Ellen Hudson. I'm inking up some backgrounds here. This background is Blueprint Sketch and Shaded Lilac. And I'm using a really, really light hand. These are the regular distress inks on Nina Smooth White cardstock. It is not as forgiving as a watercolor paper or a Bristol Smooth cardstock is, so you want to be really careful to use a light hand so you don't get any funny ink marks in your background. You could also go ahead and totally use a watercolor paper if you wanted to and you didn't want to have to be quite this careful. I am working to get a seamless blend between these two colors. This is one of my favorite color combinations. Each card is going to feature the same exact design, but just have different colors. In fact, everything about them is the same except for the colors and what the Baker Lady from the Baker Lady stamp set is holding. Here are two of my backgrounds. That blue is Mermaid, Lagoon, and Tumbled Glass, and my final color combination is Abandoned Coral and Dried Marigold. And I'll just share that again because these two colors you maybe would think don't go together. This is one of my favorite color combinations. For whatever reason, I just really love how they look together, and I think they're a nice alternative to maybe doing red or orange. This kind of straddles the line between both of those colors, where the other two are really monochromatic backgrounds. This one is not quite so much because of the oranges and the kind of peachy oranges from the Abandoned Coral, but I really like this color combination. Oftentimes when I'm creating a set of cards like this, if I don't want to do them all exactly the same, I want to add a little interest to them so that I don't get maybe bored while I'm creating them. I will switch up colors, try maybe a few new things just to see what I like. And this was a great way to maybe play with some of my favorite color combinations to create backgrounds. Each of the backgrounds is spritzed really lightly with water from a distress sprayer. Here, that was the color combinations and all the backgrounds laid out. I'm just going to use the Baker Lady die to help me gauge where I want to do a thought bubble at the top of each of my cards with black cardstock. This speech bubble border is from Fawn. It's been around for a few years now, but it's a great die if you want to create maybe your own style of thought bubble out of cardstock or pattern paper, whatever it might be. And I knew that I wanted to have something bold at the top so that it looks like it's coming from the Baker Lady. And it needs to be big enough to house the amazing Totally Random Sayings Volume 1 greetings from the Essentials by Ellen line. This is a brand new stamp set, part of the November 2017 release. And this is the stamp set I'm going to be using to show how to alter some of these greetings. Now I am using the first die cut speech bubble to kind of serve as a guide for the remaining speech bubbles so they're all the same. If you just use that negative space from where you've die cut the first speech bubble, it's pretty easy or you can use the positive space, whichever works. Use a little Post-it tape to hold that in place and run that through the die cutting machine, and you're going to get these great borders for the top of each card. So here's kind of what it's going to look like. There are all of my backgrounds and the speech bubbles. Now I'm going to use a MISTI because this is really going to help with stamping my greetings and getting them lined up perfectly and all of that, especially when I go to alter them a little bit. This first greeting I don't need to alter. This is a happy birthday. It's in the landscape format. I'm going to use Have a Magical Day underneath it, another greeting from the Totally Random Sayings. Sprinkle a little white embossing powder on the VersaMark stamped sentiments, and then heat emboss these. This is the greeting that inspired me to want to change the greetings I'm using for the other two cards. There are only two bigger greetings in this stamp set that are long in that landscape format. And I ended up not really wanting to use the other one. I wanted to use You're the Best and Thanks Muchly. And both of those are stacked greetings, meaning part of the sentiment is stacked on the other part. And I want it to be in a long line, or that landscape format, just like Happy Birthday. So I'm going to take another thought bubble. I'm going to kind of see where the middle of that is. It should be kind of about right around the 2-inch mark, just a little bit over that, about 2 1/8. And I want to straddle the line between that with my sentiment. So again, I'm going to use a powder deactivation tool to help keep the embossing powder stuck just to the stamped areas and nowhere else. I'm going to use Post-it tape, and I'm a little bit out of screen here. I apologize. The next one I will show that a little bit better. I'm going to Post-it tape what I don't want to ink up first. Go ahead and add the VersaMark ink and then stamp the word thanks. So I masked off the word muchly. Then I want to clean the stamp really well. And I want to move it over and stamp the rest of the greeting and the sentiment underneath. And this one was a little bit messy. For whatever reason, my embossing powder, even though I used the deactivation tool, it was sticking all over the place. You can see how I've altered it. You can see the nice landscape format, but I missed part of that with the video camera, so I will show that again here in just a second. So I'm cleaning up that area because I had all those little flakes all over the place with a paintbrush and then heat embossing that. So let's do that again, and hopefully this will show a little bit better how I'm altering it. So again, I want to kind of gauge where the middle is, about 2 1/8. I want to see if it's going to, how that's going to work. I will go ahead and stamp the end of the sentiment first for this one, and I'm going to use the Post-it tape to mask off the word you or your, and I'm going to ink that up with VersaMark, remove the masks, and stamp the words the best. Then I want to clean the stamp really well. And then go ahead and line up the word your. Pick that up with the MISTI. And now I'm going to mask off the words the best. And I'm just using that Post-it tape again to mask that off. Ink up the word, remove my mask, and then just stamp that right in place. And it very easily switches up how that greeting looks. Really easy, a great way to maybe make a sentiment fit better. Also keep in mind, if you wanted a sentiment that stacked one word on top of another instead of going straight across, you could do the same thing. So like if your greeting, if the happy birthday greeting would fit better with happy stacked on top of birthday, you could do this same thing for having a more portrait orientation. I'm going to sprinkle on white embossing powder on this one as well. Again, I'm going to use my paintbrush here to clean up those little embossing flakes. I really think maybe my stamp was still slightly wet in places, and that's why the embossing powder was sticking so bad. So I just like to kind of take my paintbrush, move that all out of the way before it heat sets and looks really bad. You want to go ahead and move it. Then I'm just going to heat all of these words up. Then all of my greetings are going to be finished. And I did go ahead and off camera stamp all of my images here for my cards. And it's quite a bit of coloring because this is 3 of the Baker Lady and then accessory images for each. And prior to putting my cards together, I had laid out the stamps and kind of guessed which images I wanted to use with which greetings, so I had an idea of how many I needed, because for the Baker Lady holding the stack of bowls, I needed to stamp that image 3 times, and then I needed all of the other little accessories. I'm only going to share coloring the skin and hair once. The Copic marker numbers that I am using are shown across most of the time along the bottom of the screen, sometimes the top, just depending on what I needed to color. I tried to keep it out of the way of me coloring, but I've broken it down by what I'm coloring. So there's the numbers for skin, the numbers for hair, and then the numbers for the dress and the headband that I am coloring for this first girl. I like to leave the coloring in. I've had so many requests. A lot of people really like to watch the coloring. If you do not, you can definitely skip on to the end to watch the finishing of this video. I did speed it up just to save a little bit of time because this is a fairly long video. I think these leading lady images from Ellen Hudson are so much fun to color. I've got another new card using them coming up next week, and really I'm excited to share it as well. I just think they're really fun, very, very cute, and so many ways to use them. The Baker Lady inspired this card because I kind of think her holding up her hand like this, I think it would almost be cute to put the sentiment right above her hand and maybe not have her even holding anything if you wanted to. But she inspired this card design. I knew I kind of wanted her along the bottom edge and that big bold sentiment up at the top. And then I just simply filled in with the accessory images from the Baker Lady stamp set and then Nuvo crystal drops as well, which I'll share in a little bit. The next color combination for the dress and headband is in the purple or lilac color family. This image is going to go on the blueprint sketch and shaded lilac background. The image I just colored with the red and yellow, that is going to go on the kind of reddish orange background. So very monochromatic in my color choices here, and I definitely did that on purpose. I'm a big fan of monochromatic. However, I did try to pull in some additional colors here and there as needed, especially with the stack of bowls. I felt like they needed a little more interest than sticking to just the blues because that's going to be the blue background. I really love these purple colors. These are some of my very favorites. B60, 63, 66, and 69. The B69 is used pretty sparingly. Great for just darkening up certain areas of the image. For her apron, I'm using another kind of newer to me color combination, something I've really been loving, and that is RV 66, 69, and 99. I really think it's a great color combination. I also want to mention real quick that the phrase on the front of her apron can be switched, and you might notice I have a couple of different ones. I used You Take the Cake for the one where she's holding the cake, and for the other two I ended up just using Flower Power, as in baking flour, not flowers like that grow outside. I thought it's really cute that you can customize. And not only can you customize with some different sentiments, there's also All or Muffin. All you need is love. But there is a cookie, a gingerbread man, and a little holly and berries. This definitely would work wonderfully for holiday time, but I wanted to show that it could be used for other occasions as well. And I love that it's not so holiday specific that you can only use it for the holidays. She can be used for so many different things. My last color combination is in the blue shades, and I was really eager to see how the image would look on my card, so I've already die cut a couple of the girls just to lay them out on the background. This is a blue color combination that looks nice with the Mermaid, Lagoon, and Tumbled glass, but then I'm going to pull in some aqua for her apron. And these are some of my favorite aqua colors as well. I did already color in one of the bowls. It uses a lot of the same colors or colors that you've already seen. I did not pull out any additional colors with the exception of greens for the leaves for my flowers. Anything else is just using marker colors that I had already pulled out for the Baker Lady's outfit. So one bowl is going to be that yellow-red color. Then I'm going to have an aqua bowl and finally a blue one. And I'm just alternating what color I color in the little flowers on the bowls to kind of go with whatever the base color of the bowl is. And finally, we'll have a blue bowl here in the same colors that I used for her dress. Utilizing lots of colors for a fairly small image because of all those cute little flowers. Now, I also did not keep in the video, I colored in the wooden spoon and the spatula off camera. Those are just using some of the same colors you're going to see here. For example, the cake is E53, 55, 57, and E59. A lot of those colors, with the exception of E59, were used for the handle of the spatula and the wooden spoon. A lot of these same colors are going to be used for the pie. And then for the cake plate, I'm going to use those red violets I used for her apron. And for the tip of the spatula, the same red violet colors. The pie, the top of the pie, those earth tone colors again. Her pie plate is going to be red. This is going to go on the red card. The rolling pin is going to have handles colored with the E53, 55, and 57. And the rolling pin itself is going to be in the same red shades. Then I will die cut all of these images with the coordinating dies, and we can go ahead and start putting it all together. So I'm going to attach the Baker Lady along the bottom edge, the speech bubble along the top, and then add the accessories. So for this card, we're going to add that she's holding a cake, and in the other hand, the spatula. There's going to be a little overhang on each that we'll trim off here in a bit. So the girl with the pie is holding a pie and a rolling pin. And finally, the Baker Lady with the stack of bowls is going to be holding a wooden spoon and then the stack of 3 bowls in her other hand. And I'm going to tuck those one inside of another, and they're even going to slightly overlap the speech bubble, which I really like the look of. I'm going to flip the panels over, trim off any excess so they're nice and square. And it's time to add some finishing details. The eyes are all finished with a black glaze pen. It helps them really pop. Then I'm going to use a white pen to add detail to the dresses, and even a Stardust glitter pin for some of them. For the red dress, I added a polka dot detail. A white pin is one of my favorite things to use to just dress things up. You could also use it to do little highlights if you wanted to. You could add detail to the apron and not just the dress. But it's a great finishing detail that adds a lot to the finished design. You could maybe even add some little steam coming up out of the pie. I thought of that later. I thought that would be kind of cute as well. But I think it's really fun to watch as I add these polka dots to her dress. It really just takes the image up another level and adds some nice interest without having to go and add a ton of embellishments or additional images or anything like that. I'm adding a Stardust glitter pin to the top of the pie to look like it's sugared on top. That Stardust glitter pin, I am going to take the Stardust glitter pin to the blue dress first, so it's going to have a little bit of sparkle, and I did end up going back over it with the white, so it has white and Stardust. You could just do the Stardust if you wanted to. It's not going to show up quite as showy as the white pin does. And you could definitely go with a black pin and add detail if you wanted to as well. It doesn't have to be white. I tend to gravitate towards the white pin, but you could use whatever you wanted to. The purple dress also has the same little plaid design all over it. Once I have all of this detail here, I'm going to start taking some Nuvo crystal drops and adding those all over the background. I'm just going to share here on the blue background. I'm adding a scattering of these all over. I'm using 3 colors, very monochromatic. These are all in shades of blue or turquoise. And then I'm going to go back in and add some white drops to finish it off. The other 2 cards, the purple one features all kind of purple and that kind of mulberry color Nuvo crystal drops and white. And the red-orange card has red and orange and a little bit of yellow and white Nuvo crystal drops. Add these all over. They add a fun, whimsical, kind of confetti type look all over the background. Thanks for joining me today for this card featuring customizing greeting stamps and showcasing Essentials by Ellen stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Essentials by Ellen that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.